Hello dear students, welcome to my class. I am Anjum Sheikh. Tell me, how do we tell the difference between what is alive and what is not alive? For example, if we see a dog running or a cow chewing cud or a man shouting loudly on the street, we know that these are living beings. How do we differentiate between the living beings and non-living beings? There are various criteria. What if the dog or the cow or the man were asleep? We would still think that they were alive. But how did we know that? Because we see them breathing and we know that they are alive. Then what about plants? Are they alive? Do they show any kind of movement? Is there any kind of maintenance process going on in the living organisms? In this chapter, we are going to study about these maintenance processes in the living organisms, which are known as the life processes. What is the criteria to decide whether something is alive? The most important criteria to decide whether something is alive is movement. All living things move without the help of any external help. Some movements are easily visible. For example, the movements of the body parts, while some movements are not easily visible, like molecular movements. Even when we are sitting quietly or even when we are sleeping, molecular movements are going on in our body in order to keep us alive. The molecular movements in cells and tissues is necessary for all life processes. Now what is meant by the life processes? These are the basic processes in living organisms which are necessary for maintaining their life. So these are known as the life processes. What is meant by life processes? Life processes are the basic processes in living organisms which are necessary for maintaining their life. The basic life processes are nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion. So what is nutrition? It is the process of taking food by an organism and its utilization by the body for life processes. Second is respiration. It is the process by which food is burnt in the cells of the body with the help of oxygen to release energy. Transportation. It is the process by which food, oxygen, water, waste products are carried from one part of the body to the other. And excretion. It is a process by which waste products are removed from the body. So these are the important life processes. These life processes are necessary to maintain a life, to keep someone alive. Nutrition, transportation, respiration, excretion, metabolism. So these are the important life processes. Now first is nutrition. What is meant by nutrition? It is the process of taking food by an organism and its utilization by the body to build the body for growth, to repair the damaged parts of the body as well as for energy. Life on earth depends on carbon based molecules and most of the foods are also carbon based molecules. The outside raw materials used by living organisms are food, water and air. See, nutrition, the process of taking in food and using it for growth, metabolism as well as repair. If you are taking healthy diet, you will be very strong. What are the various modes of nutrition? There are two main modes of nutrition. First is autotrophic nutrition. Auto means self. Autotrophic nutrition is a nutrition in which organisms prepare their own food from simple inorganic substances like carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. For example, all green plants and some bacteria, they show autotrophic mode of nutrition. Second is heterotrophic nutrition. It is the nutrition in which organisms get their food directly or indirectly from the plants. For example, all animals, fungi and some bacteria. These are heterotrophic. Heterotrophic means they get their food directly or indirectly from the plants, while autotrophic nutrition means the organisms prepare their own food from simple inorganic substances in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. See, the two main types of nutrition, autotrophic and heterotrophic. Auto means self and tropos means feed. So they use simple inorganic substances and either light energy or chemical energy to synthesize their food. For example, some bacteria and most of the green plants are autotrophic, while heterotrophs they obtain energy through intake and digestion of organic substances. They are directly or indirectly dependent on the plants. For example, human beings, tiger, fungi. Here you can see head louse. So these are the examples of heterotrophs. What are the various types of heterotrophic nutrition? First is saprophytic nutrition. It is nutrition in which organisms get their food from dead and decaying organisms. They break down the food material outside their body and then absorb it. For example, mushroom, bread mold, yeast, some bacteria, etc. Saprophytic means the nutrition from dead and decaying organisms. And parasitic nutrition. It is the nutrition in which organisms get their food from living organisms or host without killing them. These parasites are dependent on the body of other organisms. These parasites may be internal or external. They get their food from the living organisms or host without killing them. For example, cuscuta, orchids, ticks, lice, leeches, roundworm, tapeworm, plasmodium, etc. And third type is holozoic nutrition. It is the nutrition in which organisms take food directly and then digest and absorb it. For example, amoeba, paramecium, birds, fishes, humans, etc. The food is taken directly, then it is digested in the body of the organism and then it is absorbed. So this is holozoic nutrition. See, holozoic nutrition. The organisms feed by ingesting solid organic matter which is then digested and absorbed into their bodies. For example, humans, animals as well as insectivorous plants. Then saprophytes, they feed on the dead and decaying matter. They include bacteria and fungi which digest the food externally before the nutrients are absorbed. Parasitism means they obtain nutrients from the living organisms. They obtain nutrients by living on or in the body of the host. For example, fleas, lice and tapeworm. So these are the various types of the heterotrophic nutrition. Now we know that plants are autotrophic. So autotrophic nutrition is possible due to the process known as photosynthesis. What is meant by photosynthesis? It is the process by which plants prepare their food by using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. The food prepared is carbohydrate, which is stored in the form of starch. Oxygen is released in this process. See, here is the equation of photosynthesis. 6CO2 plus 6H2O means 6 molecules of carbon dioxide react with 6 molecule of water, and in the photosynthesis process they result in the formation of molecule of glucose, that is C6H12O6, and 6 molecule of oxygen. So this is the equation of photosynthesis. What is the process of photosynthesis? Photosynthesis takes place in three main steps. These steps are: first step is absorption of light energy from sun by chlorophyll. Second is conversion of light energy into chemical energy, and splitting up of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen, which is also called as photolysis. Third step is reduction of carbon dioxide by hydrogen to form carbohydrates. See here the process of photosynthesis. The plant draws of water through its roots. Then the leaves take in carbon dioxide from the air. The leaves trap sunlight energy from the sunlight. The plant uses the energy of sunlight to turn water and carbon dioxide into sugars and oxygen. The plants release oxygen into the air. The plants use the sugars for growth. So this is the process of photosynthesis. Chlorophyll plays a very important role in the photosynthesis. See, chlorophylls are the green pigments present on the leaves. If you see the green leaves, the leaves are green in color due to the presence of chlorophyll pigment. If we observe a cross section of leaf under a microscope, we can see cells containing green dot-like structures called as chloroplast, which contain chlorophyll. See, here is the microscopic structure of a leaf. If we observe it under high power microscope, we can see the structure of a chlorophyll. See, this is the structure of chlorophyll. It is covered by the membranes. There is a intermembrane space, inner membrane. Then there is a granum or stack of thylakoids. These ring-like structures, these are called as thylakoids. These structures are called as lamella, and inside the thylakoids there is a sieve-like structure which is known as lumen. Next are stomata. Stomata are the tiny pores present in the leaves through which the exchange of gases takes place. Each stoma has a pair of guard cells which control the opening and closing of the stomatal pore. When water enters the guard cells, it swells and the pore opens, and when the guard cells lose water, it shrinks and then the pore closes. So water controls the opening and closing of stomata, which is in turn controlled by the guard cells. See, this structure shows the stomata. See the structure of stomata under high power microscope. So these are the stomata. This is the open stomata and this is the closed stomata. It's important for 3 marks to draw the diagram of the stomata. You may draw only open stomata. So this is the structure of the open stomata. See, here it is guarded by the guard cells. Then this is the outer wall. Inside stomata there is vacuole. Chloroplasts are there. Outside these are the epidermal cells. So the guard cells regulate the opening and closing of the stomata. Now we have to discuss the activity to show that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. So for this we have to take a potted plant having variegated leaves. For example, croton plant. Variegated leaves means the leaves with different colors other than green. Then we have to keep it in dark room for 3 days so that all the starch is used up. Then keep it in sunlight for 6 hours. Then we have to take a leaf from the plant and mark the green areas of the leaf on a sheet of paper. Then we have to dip the leaf in boiling water to make it soft. Then dip it in alcohol and heat it in the water bath to decolorize it and remove the chlorophyll. Then wash the leaf in water and dip it in dilute iodine solution. It will be seen that only the green parts of the leaf turn blue-black. This shows that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. See this activity. See, this is the variegated leaf. There are some yellow areas. So we have to keep it in the dark for 3 days so that all the starch gets used up. Then we have to keep it in sunlight. Then when it is boiled in alcohol, its chlorophyll gets removed. Then when we test it for starch, the areas unaffected by starch test, these are the colorless areas, while the area affected by starch test, these are the blue-black. This activity shows that chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis. Without chlorophyll, photosynthesis process will not take place. Second activity is to show that carbon dioxide is also necessary for photosynthesis. So we have to take 2 potted plants of the same size and keep them in a dark room for 3 days so that all the starch is used up. Then we have to keep the plants on separate glass plates. We have to keep a watch glass containing some potassium hydroxide near one plant. Potassium hydroxide absorbs all the carbon dioxide. Then we have to cover both the plants with bale jars and seal the bottom of the jars with Vaseline to make it airtight. Again we have to keep the plants in sunlight for 3 hours. Then take a leaf from each plant and taste for starch. We can taste it with the help of iodine. The leaf of the plant kept in the jar containing potassium hydroxide does not show the presence of starch. This shows that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. See this activity. Experimental setup. First setup is with potassium hydroxide and second setup is without potassium hydroxide. So first we have to keep both the plants in dark for 3 days to remove all the starch. Then after 3 days we have to keep the watch glass containing potassium hydroxide in the first potted plant, and we have to keep second potted plant without potassium hydroxide. When we will test it for the presence of starch, this plant will show the presence of starch, means the process of photosynthesis takes place because starch is the product of photosynthesis, while photosynthesis will not take place in this plant. Why? Because of the potassium hydroxide. When we keep the potassium hydroxide along with the plant, it absorbs all the carbon dioxide present in the surrounding. So without carbon dioxide, photosynthesis will not take place. So this was about photosynthesis. In next video, we will be discussing about the nutrition in animals. Thank you.